Hello, welcome to Shad Life. What is a budget mountain bike? The reason why I'm asking this question, and you can post in the comments about this because it kind of baffles me. I just saw another YouTube channel talking about how $3,000 and below is a budget mountain bike. And there's other popular mountain bike websites out there that kind of use $3,000 as that figure of what is a budget mountain bike. Um, I hate to break the news to these channels and these sites that $3,000 is not a budget amount of money to be spending on a bicycle. Not even $2,000 is a budget amount of money to spend on a bicycle. Sure, it may seem like budget to those of us hardcore people that ride and will spend ridiculous amounts of money on our bicycles, or like me, have a whole bunch of bicycles and probably have tens of thousands of dollars into bicycles. Well, more than that, but anyway, that's different. Like, we're like the enthusiasts. We're like the people that spend way too much money on this sport that we like, and we're obsessed with it. We might even want to call it an addiction, right? But when we're talking to the other audience out there, maybe somebody that's interested in getting into mountain biking and things like that, if we say, "Oh, $3,000 is your budget, and below is your budget bike," that's gonna be like a shock. That's gonna be like, holy moly, or whatever. So we need to change our terminology. $3,000 is a lot of money to spend on a bicycle, and even us enthusiasts need to realize that that's still a lot of money to us. Like, if I buy a $3,000 bike, yeah, it's not going to be spec'd how I want it to be spec'd, especially if it's a full suspension bike, right? Like, full suspension bikes are really expensive. So, and this is kind of relating to my other video, like, what's important when you're out there buying a bike? And my video I just put out yesterday is fit, geometry, things like that. If you get fixed on frame material, or that you have to have a full suspension bike and things like that, yeah, you're gonna, make your wallet explode, right? You need, if you're getting into mountain biking, or even if you've been mountain biking a while and you're shopping for a new bike, or maybe an updated bike with updated geometry and stuff, you can always get a bike that's less expensive than 3,000, even less expensive than $2,000, and get something decent, something that's upgradable. I would say, if I was to say what's a budget bicycle, if I use the word budget, I would be like probably at that $1,000 and below, or maybe $1,500 and below. But like, to most people, spending $1,000 on a bicycle is like, blows their mind, right? I hate to say it, but a lot of people are used to walking into Walmart and seeing bicycles for $100, $200, $150, or whatever, and those bikes are absolute garbage. I will tell you that all day long. Do not get a department store bike. Just don't do it. I mean, if you are so destitute to have a bike and you have absolutely no money, then by all means, if it's all you can get. But most people that I see buy those bikes, they take them out of the Walmart and they go put it in their $60,000 SUV, right? Like, it's just, this perception that people have that bikes shouldn't cost us over a certain amount. Well, you're not going to get into what I would consider decent bike territory up until you spend like maybe $600 or $700. That number might have even bumped up a little bit because of inflation, so maybe closer to $800, whatever. Then you can start getting stuff that has, decent frame, Shimano components or whatever. And I'm talking bicycles in general now. Like, even if you're just going to commute on it or something, you want to spend probably, $700-800 or so, right? And that's a lot of money to some people, like especially for a bicycle. There is a used market out there, but you just have to be really careful. One, you don't want to get ripped off. A lot of people don't tell you the details of the bike. You want to know what year it is. You need to know what you're looking for when you buy used. Like, what are the specs? Because things have evolved and changed a lot, especially over the last 5 or 6 years. We're talking rear end spacing. When we're getting into mountain bikes, it's standard to have it be 148. So if you get one that's 142 or 135, that's older spec, or with 26-inch wheels instead of 27.5 or 29-inch wheels, you're going to have a hard time upgrading it and improving it, or if something breaks, finding replacement parts that are decent and stuff like that. So coming full circle here, what should you be looking for? Well, the first thing I would recommend, if you are on a budget and you can't spend a ridiculous amount of money, like $2,500 or $3,000, which is a ridiculous amount of money for a bicycle, I would stick with a hardtail. One of those ideas about mountain biking that a lot of people have is they have to have full suspension. You do not have to have full suspension. Not for 95% of mountain bike trails out there. Heck, even Bentonville, which is like this major mountain bike destination in the United States, most of those trails are free-flowing, nice flow trails and things like that. Yeah, there's a couple areas that are kind of technical or whatever, but most of those trails are nicely made flow trails and things like that. You do not need a full suspension bike to ride in Bentonville. If you're going to go do Drop the Hammer or something like that, which is this huge, massive drop that hardly anybody rides except the most extreme riders, right? Sure, but most people aren't doing that kind of stuff on a bike, right? So stick with a hardtail. That will significantly cut your costs. If you're getting a full suspension bike that's like $3,000 or less, you're going to get lower quality shocks, both rear shock on the frame, front fork shock, things like that are going to be lower end, so they're not going to work all that great. And what's interesting about full suspension is those are like the key things that are going to make the bike ride better. So you want better quality components there. You're going to get downgraded drivetrain and wheels and things like that just to make this full suspension bike affordable. $3,000, $2,500 affordable. You really don't start getting into decent like shock, suspension, all that stuff, and drivetrains until you get over $3,000 or $3,500 or even $4,000, right? Which is kind of amazing. So if you go to a hardtail, you can get really good components and a good bike as long as you find the one that fits you right and has good geometry for what you want to do. Modern geometry. There's a couple other things to look for, and I'll tell you that in a second. But yeah, a hardtail will do it. You can get a hardtail for $1,000, $1,500, things like that, with decent components and okay suspension fork and things like that. That would be what I would recommend you look into, is getting a hardtail and saving yourself a lot of money. That would be more budget. I still don't consider $1,500 budget, but anyway. So if we are looking at any bike, full suspension or hardtail, that things to look for, if you're looking for used or new, is that it has modern specs, modern spacing, things like that. You want 148 millimeter boost rear spacing, 12 millimeter through axle. You want 15 millimeter by 110 boost front axle, things like that. Obviously disc brakes. You want I hate press fit bottom brackets. Everyone I've ever had, they creak, they're a pain in the butt to work on. So I would stick with 73 millimeter threaded bottom bracket. And these are things you need to know. And then your geometry and correct fit and all of that. Make sure that's what you're getting. Another one to look for is if it doesn't already have a dropper post on it, you're going to want to add one. So make sure it has the little hole in the seat tube that allows you to add a dropper post later. You can add dropper posts with external wiring, but that's kind of messy. So, you want it dropper post compatible. Those are things I would look for in a frame if I'm going on the more budget side, so I can upgrade my parts later when I have more money to upgrade, right? So there you have it. So if you're listening to people like me or some of us elitists, these YouTube channels out there or these websites that are all like a bunch of, mountain bike enthusiasts, and they're telling you $3,000 is budget, yes, you have every right to shake your head at that, because $3,000 is not a budget number for buying a bicycle. Anyway, I appreciate your support for my channel. Please like and subscribe. I think I'm just making fun of myself because I spend a ridiculous amount of money on bikes. Peace.